We're back, baby. It's the Charity Stripe. Hit your free throws because they are free. Joshua Fisher, Alexander Tossman, the Octosopoulos, DJ Nicky Snacks Kreider. Best of Bleav right here on Stadium. Tackling a New Kingdom. Tank. Terry Tank Johnson's podcast. His guest, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Can you tell me the advantages of this current system of player conduct discipline?
Well, I think, listen, everything should evolve, right? And I think ultimately, it's important to be able to do that. And a lot of that evolution has come through the experiences, but it's also come through how we all look at this and how we can do it better, right? And that's what I'm driven by. Is there a better system? So in the last CBA, we negotiated changes to the discipline system, and we're having our first experience of that right now with Deshaun Watson, and it's been different for all of us, and we'll see as it progresses. But hopefully, it's a system that will lead to better outcomes ultimately. And the personal conduct policy itself, it's gone through a lot of changes. We look at it consistently and and that's sometimes with the union, sometimes not, but always there's a conversation in the context of, is this the right step?
Sure.
And I think we made changes to that policy, which doesn't just apply to players. It's not a player conduct, it's a personal conduct. And we made that change several years. So it applies to me, it applies to everyone in this office, it applies to everybody in the league, whether you're in the front office or you're on the field. And so that's the point that I think we have to get everyone to understand. And I've said this many times, our standards and the expectations of people are raised. And so, our process, our policy should also be raised to be able to meet that bar. And people expect a lot from the NFL, whether it's players or coaches or commissioners or owners. Everybody has a role to play.
Boo. Our conduct policy is being taken super seriously. Is it? Like the first game Deshaun Watson is back is against the Houston Texans? Oh, jeepers, Shaggy. What a coincidence, dude. Kick rocks. Pound sand. Go draw like a hopscotch thing in the street with a little like crayon, because that's what that is.
Chalk.
Thank you.
Crayon won't do anything. It won't put anything on the sidewalk.
You don't think crayon will put anything on the sidewalk? I think it'll make something happen.
It really depends where the sidewalk ends. By
Go
Shel
take-
Silverstein.
Oh, wow. Sean Salisbury show. Go take some chalk and draw a hopscotch thing on the sidewalk. I mean, they're for ratings and reviews and eyeballs. They don't care.
11 games is very arbitrary.
11 games. Where do we come up with that one? Big head scratcher. Oh, look, he happens to be first game back against the Houston Texans. Whoa, mind blown. Like, dude, no chance that's a coincidence. They planned it.
Yeah. It's obviously, it's not an easy job. We all know that. But still, like, it was a whole year, and then it was 6 games, and we ended up at 11 games. What? Why couldn't it have just been the whole year?
Well, the whole year wasn't a suspension, was it?
What do you mean?
Last year wasn't a suspension.
No. I'm talking about hypothetically this year.
Yeah.
Could have been a full year.
Could have been, should have been.
No play for him. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
11 games. It's the most arbitrary number of games in the history of the NFL.
6 games comes out, and then Deshaun's camp is, we'll take 8 games. We're okay with 8 games. And now it's 11 games. But the timing, the coincidence, you're absolutely right. And we're servicing the fans that want to see the Texans versus Deshaun Watson on the Browns. And it's not like we're not going to enjoy watching that game, but I can tell you who most of America is going to be rooting for in that game.
The Texans.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You guys are all going to tune into that game.
Yeah, I mean,
we're all going to watch that game.
I just drafted him in fantasy in a 2 QB league. Like, he's coming back.
I want to watch Davis Mills beat the brakes off of the Browns that week. I want to watch it happen.
We love Davis Mills on this podcast. We also love Eric Metcalf, though, who does the dog check. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, here are his thoughts on what Jacoby Brissett and the Cleveland Browns have to do to win games and stay alive. Check it out.
how with Jacoby, how would you attack this offense? How would you form this offense around Jacoby?
I think schematically you can do the same things. Obviously he's not the runner that Deshaun is or the passer, but who is? I mean, there's only a couple people who can play like Deshaun Watson can, but you can still run the same plays with Jacoby in your offense. He's a seasoned veteran. He's played under Bill Belichick. That's who in fact drafted him, right? So he knows what he's doing. He's a true pro, so he knows what he's doing. I think when it's all said and done, me personally, when it's all said and done, Deshaun Watson back there, Jacoby Brissett back there, Bernie Kosar, Otto Graham, I don't care who's back there, turn around and hand the ball off to the running backs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, because we have the linemen. We got to get the center thing situated, but we have the line that can go out there and run the ball on anyone.
I mean, the end of that clip, turn around and give the football to your running backs. They have 3 running backs, by the way. Was there not a time last year where Dearness Johnson was good?
Oh yeah, he was great. He had a couple top fantasy performances.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt. How many teams is Kareem Hunt the number 1 running back on?
Probably over half the league.
I was gonna say over half the league.
You think so? You think over half? I was just say like 8 to 10.
Let me go in your division.
Okay.
Just in your division.
Yeah.
Number 1 running back on the Eagles.
Yep.
I like Miles Sanders. He's a better running back.
Okay.
Number 1 on the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on
No
there?
one knows who's going to get the job there.
It's going to be Brian Robinson, I think. I mean,
McKissick's always going to be their pass catching back. But to your point, yeah, he's better.
Is he the number 1 guy for y'all?
No.
Zeke better still?
I think honestly he might be a third
Is he the
stringer for
number
the
1 guy
Cowboys.
for the Giants?
No.
That's tough.
We'll see. If Saquon's fully healthy and they're good, and their offense is flowing. But if you go through the league, there's a lot of teams that he truthfully is. Like, he's the number 1 running back on the Falcons. Like, we were talking, obviously not the Panthers and the Saints, but he's
you're going to do my guy Cordy P dirty like that?
Yeah. Sorry. Like,
Cordy
he's the
P on the Dirty Bees.
I think he'd be the number 1 running back on the Patriots. I like Damian Harris and I like Ramondre Stevenson. He'd be the top dog there. He's a rushing title, does he not?
Yeah.
He's an assault away from still being on the Chiefs and having a ring. I mean, they have a really talented
even more of a head scratcher for the Browns front office. It's like, what are we doing here? This is just last chance you, which we'll get into.
Go get Josh. We'll get into last chance.
We'll get into that next segment when we go to Coach JB's show. But look, I think that Jacoby Brissett. At first, when I listened to Metcalf talk about it, I'm like, okay, no, what he can do with his legs is never going to be the same as what Deshaun Watson can do with his legs.
Sure.
But even when Deshaun Watson's on the Houston Texans, it's not like they were play calling a lot of designed runs for Deshaun Watson. There's only really 2 quarterbacks, I would say, in the NFL that have design runs that are plentifully added to their repertoire from an offensive play calling standpoint. Lamar and Josh Allen in the red zone.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Basically it. And maybe we'll see with Trey Lance and Shanahan.
Kyler.
And Kyler. But a lot of those are still just scrambles where he gets to the outside, and I think he's quick to run.
Yeah.
And
I think
he's
a lot
just
of
so
that's
fast.
just Kingsbury's game plan as well. Is like he comes from the college background where, there's just, especially Texas Tech, it's all very air raid pass heavy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he trusts Kyler to improvise and just
And he's good out of the pocket, too.
exactly.
I feel just as good. We discussed the Panthers and how we feel about them. I honestly feel just as good about that team as I do the Panthers with Jacoby Brissett under the helmet. And nothing against, Baker. I think Jacoby Brissett is passable as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Obviously beyond not ideal, but the offensive line is good, like they're saying. The running backs are fantastic, like they're saying. And their defense is super solid. They still have Myles Garrett, who's a top 5 defensive player in the NFL.
They got Amari Cooper.
And if Deshaun is your guy, it's about weathering the storm with Jacoby Brissett, and you'd like to be running the exact same offense that you're going to slot Deshaun Watson into.
If they could be 5-6, even 4-7 with Deshaun, they could finish with above 500 record. It's perfectly plausible. We teased it. Last chance you, Coach Jason Brown coming at you. Great guest, Roy Williams out of OU. We also have Amon Green. We're talking a little WWE, a little gaming over with Amon Green. And then we have some college football playoff predictions. Don't go anywhere. We're the Charity Stripe. We'll be back in just a hot second. Best to Bleav right here on Stadium.